sit together.
All sit
I'm
together.
going to record you to show that these are my people.
These are my people and all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is our world at the beginning of time. Okay, stop that.
Hello. Hello, teacher.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to share a little bit with you this morning. This is what our world is when at the very beginning of time. This is what is happening to our world slowly, even as we are talking today. What is happening to our earth and what has caused our environment to deteriorate, for our animals to become extinct, and things like deforestation to occur. Whose responsibility is it actually to preserve it or to restore it back to its nature, to what's left? As a Christian, my worldview has actually changed over the years, and it's because of my relationship with Jesus Christ. His word has actually taught me to change my worldview, and it helped me develop a better relationship with him as well as with his creation. One thing that has really pierced my heart recently is learning more about what's happening to our world and how it's slowly deteriorating due to our rapid population growth. And it's not just that, but it's the selfish behaviors that we have behind it. It's our thought and our unresponsiveness to creation's cry. In Genesis 1:28 through 30, God blessed Adam and Eve. And he told them to increase in numbers, and he also told them to take care of the earth. These two commands by God go hand in hand. Today I'm going to share some alarming statistics with you. Regarding the consequences of not balancing these two commands, and it's due to our selfish desires. As Christians, it is our responsibility to take action. In a seminar that Bernard Zala gave back in 2006, he talks about the creation's cry and how our rapid growth of population has caused our environmental resources to dwindle at a concerning rate. Our population started with 1. As of this morning, we're now at 7.199 billion people. Probably by the time I'm speaking, we're at 7.2 billion people. And it's not just the population, it's what has, Mr. Zala also points out that the U.S. only accounts for 5% of the world population, but the U.S. consumes 40% of our environmental resources. Our average home size has grown over the last 44% in the last 40 years. We are now at an average home size of 2,150 square feet. He also states that in the next 30 years, mammals face extinction, and over the next 100 years, all life species on Earth will be extinct if we continue in the same direction we're going. According to the National Geographic this year, it states that our rainforest has once covered 14% of the Earth. Now we're down to 6% of the Earth. These statistics are alarming, but it's just a glimpse of what is actually happening to our environment due to the inability to balance those two commands God gave us. We've grown, but now we also have to learn to take care of our earth. The majority of our culture's thoughts and behaviors are due to selfish gratification. Lynn White, back in 1974, wrote a paper about the historical roots of ecological crisis. So even back then, he knew where our world was heading towards. He stated that if we don't change the way that we think and assign more of a man-nature relationship, it doesn't matter what programs are out there unless we change those thoughts. In an article more recent by Wendell Berry, he wrote back in 2009 in the Distrust for Movements, he says there is a major disconnect in our culture. People think that our food, our clothing, our housing all comes just from money. But that's not it. It's actually nature that supplies that. Some Christians believe that the drought's happening, the weather happening, the volcanoes erupting, the weather happening is all due to the birthing pains that Jesus spoke about in Luke 21, chapter 11. So they do nothing because they think the world's coming to an end. Well, there needs to be a call to action by us Christians. We need to accept the responsibility to restore and to restore what remains of our earth. We need to learn from history. Taking a look back in Ezekiel, God spoke through the prophet Ezekiel and how he was disappointed in the selfishness and the lack of care of the leaders of Israel to provide care to his flock. He said, if we don't do something about it, he's going to take that leadership away. Well, the earth is part of his flock. He wants us to be able to take that leadership action. Do we want to lose that? Bernard Zala also told a great parable about the Good Samaritan, but he did it in a different perspective. He actually metaphorically compared God's creation to the mugged, to the bleeding, to the victim on the side of this modern superhighway of consumption. You know, Jesus gave us this parable of the Good Samaritan, which is to love our neighbors. And if Earth's creation is our neighbor, shouldn't we take time out to help restore it and to nurture it back into the way it needs to be, back to a healthy way? The very word Christian was created because we are people who model life after Christ. Choosing to change our behaviors as well as our thoughts by absorbing the concept that we were given dominion to be good stewards over God's creation. And summing this up, the population growth continues to increase. That's not going to change. But what can change is how our society thinks about the environment. It took thousands of years to get our earth to where it's at. And it's going to take some time to get it back and restore it. It's not going to happen overnight. As Christians, it is our ethical and moral responsibility to meet the challenge because one day we will be held accountable for it. Reframing our thoughts, our behaviors to a biblical worldview instead of a secular worldview is a place to start. It's taking the leadership in our families and in our communities, and also finally to change the heart, to see the creation as a gift, something to be loved, to be nurtured, to show compassion, but not an object to be used for our own selfish gain. So audience, I ask you, what is it that you're going to do to better the earth's environment around you? You know, just as this earth came to be, as it slowly deteriorates, one breath just does a little. But if we all come together and put all of us together, we can restore our earth back to the way it was meant to be. Thank you.